Hello everyone, my name is Jazz Cole, and today what I will be talking about is how to make friends in a foreign country. So I know that some people want to study abroad, they want to broaden their horizons and travel around the world, but the main thing is making friends is a great way to have an anchor in another country. So if you really enjoy your experience, you have someone to practice your language with and be able to come back and visit with. So I'm going to give you some tips on how I've been able to make foreign friends. So here, this is where culture knowledge really comes into play. This is really important. So the first thing I tell anyone is make sure you do your research on the culture. Avoid anything that can be offensive, that could be, that could come off as ignorant, or any topics that can create heated arguments, like heated as in heated towards you. Don't do that at all. You want to look for topics that you basically have common interests in. Looking at ways that you normally make a friend in any circumstances, whether it be in your own country or not. Common interests. So finding things outside of, let's say you're studying or you're working abroad. If you really are into fitness, or you're really into like joining certain clubs, whether it be a Verein in Germany or a salon in France, finding groups that are finding locations where you would be able to find people of interest, of the same interest. And also, like, a lot of times in those cases, when you meet people, they're most likely going to want to know where you're from, especially if they notice you're speaking their language with an accent. And speaking of language, I think that you should be very insistent on speaking their language, because it's out of respect. And if they happen to speak your language and they say, hey, I want to practice my English, or they want to switch languages, that's perfectly fine. But you want to be insistent, because you just want to make sure you give off the impression that, hey, I speak your language and you can comfortably speak to me, especially if you are at a certain level with that language. I think it's really important to emphasize that first and foremost. Also, I think that when it comes to making friends, you should be asking more questions and actually talking. So, because the whole point of making friends is you want to get to know the other person. So when you ask more questions, it opens up more discussion. There's a saying, and there's a quote in How to Win Friends and Influence People that says, he who has a question mark holds the conversation. So when you ask questions, you basically are controlling the topics of the conversation. So being able, especially if their questions are relating to that person's culture, they're going to think that you're interested and not interesting, because no one likes to be in a conversation with someone who just wants to talk the whole time, especially about themselves. It can be kind of a turnoff. So asking more questions can really make yourself more appealing. And just basically, I would just say, obviously be yourself. These are just some tips that I have that have worked for me. I would say that it's not really rocket science. These are just a couple of things just to keep in mind, but I would say just be yourself. And again, if you're around people of similar interests, it's obviously that's a good starting point of a conversation, especially when it comes to politics or any societal or philosophical things. I know that some cultures, those are, like, I know in our culture in America, those are some hot topics to be to stay away from. In other cultures, it may not be. I know that when I was in Germany, it was very common for people to talk about politics or to talk about worldly things, because that was just how they were. It was just like, if you don't have an opinion and have valid reasons for that opinion, then it's like, who are you? In France, it's very common to talk about politics as well. I know that people have the stereotype that they complain a lot, which I never really noticed that very much. I know that it's very common to talk about things that they don't like, more so than things that they do like. But at the same time, being able to just talk about things that you normally have interest in. I said, like I was saying, be wary of those topics that may cause heated debates. Especially depending on which country you are. Like specifically in America right now, if you mention the word abortion, you have no idea who might come out and say something about it. So So good luck to your experiences, and I hope you make friends and have a great time wherever you're at. Catch you next time.